Hello guys, today we are gonna talk about a problem on Leetcode. So in this video, I want to mention about Leetcode real quick. Basically, Leetcode is a website where programmers, software engineers, automation testers, or anyone who's interested in solving problems, you can challenge your coding skills or practice your coding skills. And there are like up to 1,000 questions, I think, and it still keeps growing. The questions are ranked by level of difficulty. As you can see here, they're easy, and these there are some medium ones, as you can see, and then hard ones, right? So I'm gonna solve I'm gonna try to explain my solution or approach to one of the easy questions here. And these questions there are some questions from those big tech companies such as Apple, Facebook, Google, or Amazon. And of course, there are a lot of online platforms where you can practice your coding, but this is one of them. I just want to talk about it a little bit. And I have solved this one today, and I want to talk about this one. This seemed like a pretty good task to tackle. And this here's we're gonna practice our nested for loop also. So the question is best time to buy and sell stock. So it's easy level. Let's say you have an array for which the ith element is the price of a given stock on day I. And if you were only permitted to complete at most one transaction, buy one and sell one share of stock, design an algorithm to find the maximum profit. Note that you cannot sell a stock before you buy one. So let's say these are in this array, these are the prices of stock for each given day, and the day goes with the index of array, index for each element. So for this one is 0 day. I mean, not practical, but on 0's day, the price for stock is what do you call, $7, and then the next day it's $1, $5, $3. So let's say here you have to buy it at certain price first, right? Let's say if you buy stock on this day where it's $1, and you sell it on this day where it's $6. So your profit now here is that here is $5, because you spent $1 to buy it and sold it for $6. So the difference, you have a full profit there. And that's the maximum we can do, because with 3 and 1 you only get $2, with 5 and 1 you only get $4, and with 4 and 1 you only get $3, but with 6 and 1 you get $5 profit from here. I'm sure there are different ways of solving this problem, but here on this one, it keeps constantly decreasing the price. If you notice, 7, 6, 4, 3, 1. So there is no any day where you can make profit. So I mean, like it explained, you have to buy it first in order for you to sell it and then make it profit, right? So with this one and here, you cannot make a profit, because this is the price for this day, and this was the price in that day, right? Basically, the higher price needs to come after the price which you're gonna subtract from. Let's try to tackle this question. And in order for me to solve this question, I'll have to in order for me to return something, I have to I want to create a variable called max. I want to initialize to 0, and I'm going to use a for loop to loop through the array. I'm going to use, like I said, nested for loop, but the outer one I'm going to initialize to 1. I will explain about it in a little bit. The price is the length. I plus, and then we're gonna do another for loop here, int j, or int, let's say it's x. X is less than I, x plus plus, if prices I minus prices x is bigger than max, then the max is equal to whatever is bigger than max. So, and then it looks like here we're gonna return max at the end. So let's see, let me try to explain it here. With the outer for loop, I started at 1 because I know that you are only allowed to sell a stock after you buy it. So if I bought the stock for $7, there's no way I can make a profit here. If I bought it the next day for $1 and sold it at this day for $6, there is a chance that I'm making a high profit, right? Well, that is the only chance here from the given array. So I know that I can only sell it after I buy it, so that's why I have to initialize to 1, and the inner for loop I initialize to 0 because I will be basically subtracting, let's say, let's take a look at this example. I will be subtracting let's say my I is at 1 right now, and my inner for loop x from here, it's pointing to 0, so this is the index for this. So I'll subtract 7 from 1, and there is no, and it's actually less than 0, so I don't even bother assigning it the max here. I only assign it to max when it's bigger than 0. That's one thing. And second thing, if there is any other, let's say this is 1, then I have another subtraction which is gonna be bigger than 1, then I will assign that difference to be my max here. So with the inner for loop, so how does this outer and inner for loop happens? Right now here our outer for loop is pointing to our I is 1, so let's say prices I, so I is 1, it is pointing to 1 because to this given specific array, right? Let me copy paste this here also. See, so my actually I here is 1, so it's pointing to this one right here, and then my inner for loop, it's x is equal to 0, so this right here, come on, see, is pointing to 7 because the index 0 in this array is 7. So what it does is takes the outer for loop first. So our in our outer for loop right now we have 1, right? At index 1 in this array, it's the element's 1. So it takes 1 and then goes into for loop, inner for loop, and then it checks the x value, which is 0, and I am subtracting x from I. Basically I is 1, so my x is 0, which is 7, and it's bigger than 0. It's less than 0, I'm not even bothering, and I'm going outside of this for loop because it has to be less than I, because that's the only way we can sell it after we buy it. So it has to be before then. And on the next round, this I gets incremented, and now my I is 2 here. Now it's pointing to 5, and my inner for loop, first of all, which is 7 at index 0, right? I want to make sure at index 0, which is 7, and we are doing here is that 5 minus 7, is it bigger than max? Max is initialized to 0 here, so it's not. It's actually less than 0, so we're not even going to do anything, and then it goes out of this if statement, comes here, is x less than I. Our I is 2 right now, our x is 0, and now it increments the x. Now x becomes 1 here, and at 1 index I have 1, so it is now pointing to 1, and then it will be 5 minus 1. Is it 5 minus 1 is 4? Is it bigger than max? Max is 0. Yes, it is. So it'll assign the max to be 4. So my max here becomes a 4, and now our max is 4. And then on the next round, now I is gonna become 3 after this completes its round iteration, because it only goes up until it's 1 less than I, right? So on the next round, our I is gonna be 3, and on 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, we have actually 3. Now it's gonna go inside here and start checking the same, doing the same iteration here, and it's gonna first of all price I, which is right now 3, so it's gonna subtract everything from 3. So it's gonna subtract with 7, is it it's less than max. It's gonna subtract 1, it's still less than max. Our max is 4 right now, so it's gonna subtract 5 from 3, and it's negative 2, so there is no any candidate here. So on the next round, our I becomes 4, and at 4 we have 6, so this will change to 6, and then at price we're gonna start from 0, which is our 7, right? 6 minus 7, it's negative, so is it bigger than max? No way. So it's gonna move to the next one, which is at index 1, we have 1, so it's gonna check 6 minus 1, is it, what is it? It's 5. So is it our max is 4 so far. Is 5 bigger than 4? Yes. So we're gonna take that difference here and assign it to max. So now our max becomes 5, and when we run, it's gonna return 5. I mean, it's gonna of course loop through and find the max. If there is to say we have 8 or even 10, then we're gonna have 10 minus 1, and it's gonna return 9. But for this one, that's what it's gonna do. Let's run it, and it's actually gonna, okay, so this is accepted, expected output 5, and it's 5, and I'm gonna try to submit it here, and it should. So 2 hours ago I tried it, and it didn't work the first 2. So now this time the runtime is for this, I think, ON square, but the runtime is 560 milliseconds. I'm sure this can be optimized. It can run in less time. So what it does here on Leetcode, it's going to check how much of memory it's requiring, it's taking, and how much of a time it's taking to run in your programming language. So that's about it for today. Thank you.